On the day they had been married for 6 weeks, he disappeared without a trace. 70 years passed, but the mystery remained enveloping Margaret's life. Until, in an unexpected moment, the devastating truth came to light. Discover the secrets hidden for decades and the surprising developments in this story of love and mystery that transcends time. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Many years ago, Gregory and Margaret were a young couple who had been married for about a month and a half. The air still exuded the freshness of romance that permeated every corner of the house they now called home. Nights were filled with laughter and sighs of happiness, while days unfolded with promises of a future full of love and shared adventures. On an ordinary morning, Gregory held Margaret's hands tenderly, his eyes shining with a mix of emotions. "Margaret, my love, would you have the courage to run away with me?" he asked, his voice laden with anxiety and expectation. Margaret was momentarily surprised by the question, a mix of incredulity and curiosity crossing her gaze. She gently caressed Gregory's face, trying to understand the meaning behind his words. "Of course, but why would we do that?" she replied, her voice echoing with a slight tone of confusion. Gregory's words hovered in the air, creating an atmosphere charged with possibilities and mysteries. Without answering, the husband then left the house with a mysterious smile on his lips, promising Margaret a surprise she would never forget. "I won't be long, my dear. I'm bringing you a surprise," Gregory whispered, planting a tender kiss on Margaret's forehead before departing. Hours passed and Margaret anxiously awaited Gregory's return. She prepared dinner meticulously, set the small table with the best china in the house, but time continued to stretch without any sign of her beloved. The sun set on the horizon, tinting the sky with orange hues, but Gregory had still not returned home. Apprehension began to take hold of Margaret's heart. As night advanced, the silence of the house echoed with Gregory's absence. Margaret sat alone at the table, the candlelight flickering on her worried face, unable to shake the dark thoughts haunting her mind. Days dragged on in painful anguish, and still there was no sign of Gregory. Margaret turned to neighbours and friends for news, but all she found was an echo of uncertainty. Gregory's promise to return had turned into a dark enigma, leaving Margaret with a deep void in her heart and the burning question, where was Gregory in such turbulent times? Gregory and Margaret fell deeply in love, cultivating an extraordinary relationship. However, Margaret's parents did not receive the news enthusiastically and opposed the couple's union. Their main concern was that Gregory had no family and was considered of humble origin. Margaret's family was of high status and well known in the city. These barriers were not enough to stop the flourishing love between them, and the couple chose to move forward, facing life's challenges together. Gregory was a simple and solitary young man, but very hard-working. Despite Margaret's parents disliking the situation, their love was stronger. They faced the criticism and decided to build a future together. Gregory's determination to make the relationship work overcame any doubts. Together, they faced her parents' disapproval head-on and chose to chart their own path. For them, true love was what mattered, and they were determined to build a life together based on the happiness they found in each other. Each chapter of their story, from the beginning to recent moments, seemed to fade before the harsh reality she now faced. Margaret couldn't understand why her husband, her passionate companion, had vanished without a trace. The happy memories they shared became shadows, obscured by the uncertainty of the present. Desperate, Margaret and her family decided to call the police, but to her anguish, there was no sign of Gregory. A meticulous search revealed only a disconcerting void, a mystery with no answers in sight. Fear took hold of Margaret's heart, as she feared the worst. The uncertainty of Gregory's fate loomed over her like a dark cloud, overshadowing her hope and leaving her lost in a sea of worries. Years passed since that fateful disappearance, but Margaret never overcame her husband's absence. Every knock on the door was a renewed hope, every step echoing a possible return. She continued to wait, clinging to the slender thread of hope amidst the changing seasons, but Gregory never returned, leaving her with a profound longing and eternal uncertainty about what really happened that day that changed her life forever. After a while, Margaret tried to have relationships a few times after Gregory's disappearance, but nothing seemed to work out. Her parents suggested some suitors they deemed good people from wealthy families, but she never forgot her great love. Years later, Margaret, as an elderly lady, lived alone in her small house, dedicating a large part of her time to her beautiful garden. It was there, among the flowers and vibrant colours of nature, that she sought solace for the longing that consumed her. One day, like any other, while she was lovingly tending to her plants, a young man appeared suddenly before her. Surprised, Margaret looked at him with curiosity and politely asked the reason for his visit. The young man in turn asked a question that left her breathless. "Are you Mrs. Margaret Blanchard?" With a lump in her throat, Margaret confirmed her identity, barely able to contain the emotions swirling inside her. The young man continued, "My name is Lionel, and I am Gregory's grandson. Finally, I found you." The young man's words burst into the silence of the room, echoing like thunder in Margaret's heart. Her eyes widened, shock and surprise mixing into a storm of emotions. That sentence was like a ray of light amidst the darkness surrounding the mystery of Gregory's disappearance. Could it be that finally, after so many years, Margaret would begin to understand what really happened to her dear husband? Questions swirled in her mind, longing for answers long hidden in the shadows of the past. Gregory's grandson handed Margaret a small box containing a dazzling jewel. It was a necklace, exactly like the one Margaret had mentioned years ago, expressing a silent wish. In that moment, a whirlwind of emotions took hold of her. That jewel, carefully chosen and delivered by the grandson, seemed to be the answer to the mysterious surprise Gregory had promised on the day he disappeared. Despite the emotion and the fleeting joy, Margaret could not fully grasp what was happening. The enigma surrounding her husband's disappearance still hung over her, enveloping her life in a mist of uncertainties and unanswered questions. Margaret couldn't believe what was happening. Tears flooded her eyes as her voice trembled with emotion and anguish. "Where is Gregory? What happened to him? Is he alive?" she asked, her words laden with desperation and yearning for answers. There were so many questions, so many uncertainties that had consumed her for so many years. Lionel, perplexed by Margaret's reaction, tried to explain, sharing a secret that shed light on the mysteries of the past. "My grandfather always wanted to give you this necklace. A few years ago, he started suffering from Alzheimer's and sometimes talked about you and your memories together," Lionel said, his voice filled with compassion. "He is alive, but he is very debilitated." Those words sounded like a balm to Margaret's troubled heart, but they also unleashed a flood of new questions and emotions. It was as if a veil of years of silence and uncertainty was finally being lifted before her. Faced with the revelation, Margaret invited Lionel inside to share a coffee. She needed to understand better, to unravel the secrets that had been kept for so long. Amidst trembling sips of coffee, she gathered the courage to ask the question that had haunted her thoughts throughout all those years of loneliness and waiting. "Your grandfather disappeared many years ago. What happened?" Margaret asked, her voice echoing the determination and urgency to uncover the truth that had long been hidden in the shadows of the past. The young man, visibly surprised by Margaret's response, tried to clarify the situation. "What do you mean he disappeared? He said you didn't want to run away with him, saying that you never showed up at the station," he stated, with a clear tone of confusion in his voice. "He waited for you, but you never appeared." The young man's words echoed in Margaret's mind, leaving her even more perplexed and astounded. She tried to understand the situation, seeking to connect the loose ends of a narrative that seemed to unfold before her. However, her own memories brought a different version of events. Gregory disappeared from one day to the next and never sent any news, Margaret murmured, her voice heavy with perplexity and pain. For her, Gregory's disappearance represented an open wound, an inexplicable absence that had haunted her days since then. Leonel, hearing Margaret's words and with a serious expression, said, "It seems we are not talking about the same person and the same story." A sombre look crossed his face before he began to share the version he knew about his grandfather. Leonel revealed that at the time of Gregory's disappearance, Margaret's family did not look favourably on their relationship. He explained that, despite trying to hide it in front of their daughter, Gregory claimed that from the beginning Margaret's father and brothers had threatened him to leave the young woman. In the society of the time, their relationship was not well accepted, and the pressures grew increasingly intense. Gregory believed that with time the threats would cease, and he continued fighting to stay by the side of the woman he loved. Things began to complicate when Margaret's father, seeing that Gregory would not give up, started making more serious threats. He eventually issued an ultimatum indicating he would make Gregory disappear if he didn't leave Margaret. The father intended to marry his daughter off to a young man from a wealthy family and saw Gregory as an obstacle in his way. Their connection represented an opportunity for numerous benefits for his family. Recalling that tenser moment, Leonel concluded that when Gregory asked Margaret about running away together, he was probably already afraid of something. The love between Gregory and Margaret, marked by the hardships imposed by society and family, now revealed itself as a more complex story, where the shadows of the past played a crucial role in the tragic outcome that culminated with Gregory's disappearance. The grandson's account brought forth a surprising revelation about the day Gregory vanished. According to Leonel, Margaret's father, determined to end their relationship, took Gregory to the train station and threatened him that fateful day, promising he wouldn't tolerate the situation any longer. He planned to tell Margaret that Gregory had left for good. Days after Gregory's disappearance, he still tried to send a letter to Margaret, asking her to meet him at the station on a specific day to run away together. But Margaret never showed up, and at the time, the young man interpreted it as her agreeing with her father. It was now clear that this letter never reached Margaret's hands. All of this happened behind her back. Margaret started piecing together the facts, realising that her father frequented her house in the days following Gregory's disappearance and inspected her mailbox. He probably intercepted that letter. Moreover, Margaret's father insinuated that Gregory had run away with another woman, fueling the idea that he would never return. It was a series of misunderstandings and hidden actions that separated the young couple, a web of manipulation and intrigue that changed the course of their lives forever. Gregory left for another city, leaving behind the remnants of a troubled past and the shadows of an interrupted love. The new city, distant and unfamiliar, became his refuge for many years. There, he built a simple life. He joined with a woman and had children with her. His new companion passed away early, leaving him with the responsibility of raising the children alone. Despite the adversities and storms that life brought him, Gregory also never forgot Margaret, his great love which remained imprinted in his heart over the years. Leonel, his devoted grandson, grew up hearing stories about his grandfather and the love he left behind. Inspired by the devotion and longing Gregory felt for Margaret, Leonel decided to fulfill his grandfather's wish to give Margaret the jewel he never had the opportunity to present to his wife. Driven by hope and the desire to reunite those separated by time, Leonel embarked on a journey in search of truth and reconciliation, determined to once again unite the fragments of a love story that had withstood the test of time and distance. Over the years, Margaret carried with her the memory of Gregory as a flame that never extinguished. Life had separated them, but the love that united them remained intact in her heart, withstanding the test of time and distance. In his final days, Gregory found himself in a hospital bed, surrounded by the silence of memories and the haze of advanced age. However, amidst the mist of his mind, a light shone when Margaret entered the room. As she approached and said that she was the woman he had loved for so long, Gregory's eyes filled with tears. It was a unique moment, loaded with emotion and tenderness, where time seemed to have turned back in the face of true love's power. In the days that followed, Gregory found peace, knowing Margaret was by his side, even if only for a brief moment. The cycle of life was completed, and Gregory rested, leaving behind a legacy of love and memories that would endure forever. Margaret, in turn, found solace in the certainty that even in Gregory's final moments, they could share one last moment of connection and love. In her farewell, she carried the memory of a love that transcended the barriers of time and distance, illuminating her life with its eternal light. And you, have you ever experienced an intense love that left a lasting mark in your memory? If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.